Well, hello once again to another live session. I know I'm back. Can't keep away from this place, I know, realise that. Now, what I'm doing today, apart from playing with my little test cards, I want to go through some different sort of colour blues we can use to make certain colours for different birds. For example, we've got this one down here, as you can see, which is the eastern bluebird. Such a lovely bird, isn't it? And by the way, that photograph is by a Steve Rossi from Flickr, with permission, of course. Now, that particular blue, it's quite a bright blue, isn't it? And you think, well, how are you going to make that sort of blue? I've got 4 different blues from my mixing palette here. And being a primary colour, I can't really mix any other colours to make that blue. So I'm thinking, well, what can I do to kind of get the right blue? Instead of using these, you can use a pre-bought blue. In this case, I've got cobalt blue, and that one works really, really well. So I'll just put some of that in my mixing palette here. I'll mix them in wells. A little bit. That's all I need. I don't like wasting paint, you know. Don't know about you. Then normally this colour on its own, for that particular picture down there, which I've, by the way, got on my tablet in front of me, as you can see here. So I can zoom in, whatever I want to do. Oh, by the way, always use a good size, a large size photograph, a very detailed one as well. So this colour is going to be very similar, if I water it down, let's use a masking tape on there, to the head of that eastern bluebird. As you can see, quite similar, not quite the same, but not far off. You know, I can add to this colour just a touch, if I want to, of purple. So let's say, for example, I don't know, ultramarine violet. That one just there. I've only got a small amount left in there, as you can see. These are my half pounds. If you need to know anything about the equipment I use, please pop a comment down below, okay? If you're live, you can put it in the chat as well. And I'll look at those comments later on once they're finished as well. I can add that in there. Only because there's just a hint, when you really look at it, just a hint of purple within that blue. We've got to really stare carefully at that colour. Now, what if you haven't got something like Cobalt Blue by Winsor & Newton? There you go. What I would do is try to mix the colour myself. If I can, that's the first thing I would normally do. I don't always like to use the colour straight from the tube. I like to kind of mix my own if I can. And it all depends on the blues you've got as well. So what we can try, first of all, is, let's say, what do you reckon? Cerulean blue? I'm not so sure about that. That's a nice blue, but it's nowhere near the colour we can see down there. Not quite, anyway. It may work if I watered it down for the background colour for that eastern bluebird. So you can really water that down, and that's sort of the baseline colour, really. Once that's dry, then you can build up the other colours over the top. So you need something to be able to see behind the scene when you're working with, well, colours and fur or feathers or whatever. Now, that's not going to be the right blue. You can add a bit of purple into that if you wanted to, just kind of brighten it a little bit more. Or you could use another colour with it. Let's say this one here, indigo. So indigo, see, that's far too dull. So that wouldn't work either. How do you brighten up a blue? Well, you know, the more you think about it, the more you can get quite confused over it. You can, if you wanted to, go to your colour checker, sort of little test papers which you can do as well. I don't know if I've got mine handy at the moment, but what you can do is get a swatch of colours from your palette there. The problem is all your colours in your half pans are really condensed, aren't they? And because of that, what you find is that it's showing the real deep colour, the really deep colour of that particular colour. For example, this one here is Gambo Hue. So with Gambo Hue, that's actually this one here. So when you water down that colour there, you get something like this top one here, look. And as you can see, it's completely different, isn't it? That's because that's condensed. So you can't always go off your half pans if you're using half pans, or even the tube paint as well, as you can see with this one here. So always have a colour tester card like that, or colour tester strips as well. So I'll have a look for those in a bit, when I've got a little bit more time while I'm talking to you, and I'll show you what they are. But meanwhile, let's see if we can make that colour, shall we? So we've tried that one, we tried indigo, we tried cerulean blue. What about, I don't know, ultramarine, French ultramarine in this case. So we can try that one. Will that be similar? I don't know. This one's a granulating colour, so it goes a bit bitty as it dries, which is quite nice. It's a nice effect. That's still the wrong blue. What about mixing that with, say, for example, a little bit of cerulean blue? on that side. Do you think that's similar? That's getting there, isn't it? That is getting there. We could potentially use that one as a backup plan if I wanted to for that painting. Or what about trying, we've got one left over here, one with the phthalo blue. We'll try that one. So phthalo blue, I just say something like fallow. It's a phthalo blue. Now that is a lovely bright intense blue, phthalo blue. Or you can use Winsor blue, which is very much the same, and also intense blue. You know, so you can use all the 3 different colours, and they're all the same sort of colour anyway. So phthalo blue, that's very similar, mixed with, just want that little bit of purple in there as well. A little bit, trying to get that painting, that picture out the way down there. A little bit of mauve, which is this one here, look. Try that. Oh, I sound like a monkey now, hang on. Yeah, I think, you know, that's the one. So you can use that colour there, look how bright that is. That's perfect for that painting down there, or for that photo, should I say, photo painting. Oh, I'll show you that one in a bit as well, by the way. I've done that. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So if you lighten that down, that's going to give you the similar colour to what we've got down there. I know. The colours will vary a little bit whilst I'm live, I know that, because it all depends on how the live feed goes through to the internet, and that can alter the colours a little bit for the device I'm using. So the colours might not be exact that you see on the screen that I've got here, but they'll be very, very similar. So it's all about going through the colours within your mixing palette and see what you can find to make the colours that you need for that photograph. So let's have a quick look what else we've got there as well. What about? Let me just have a look at my video at the minute. What we can do, we can change that as well. So let me just have a quick look at the computer 1 second. From the Eastern Bluebird to something like, coming in, ready, the Blue Jay. How about that one? You see, that's a completely different colour altogether. So if I get that on my tablet here as well, so I can see where it is. Is that the one? No, that's the wrong one. Where's he gone? There it is, look. That little beastie there. A lovely bird, isn't it? We have the jay here in the UK, which isn't blue like that, but yet we've got some lovely blue flashes on the wings. But the blue jay in the US is a lovely looking bird, isn't it? But when you look at that, that blue there, it's quite pale in some respects, isn't it? Depends on the photographer, depends on the daylight when the photograph was taken. I know that can vary. Obviously, the colour of the you know, the feathers, etc., quite a lot, really, it really can. So you have to think about that while you're painting it, because not all photographs are quite the same of all the same species. So to mix that particular colour, again, we need to test out the paper. What I always do, by the way, just out of interest, I've got plenty of scrap watercolour offcuts like that, so it's all watercolour paper, which I use, you saw them at the beginning, look, to test out my colours before I do a painting. I've just done another painting. You've got no idea what that is on there, do you? There you go. You might have seen it right at the beginning. There's a little hint of something I wrote on those, so you might have to rewind and have a look at that later on. So what have I painted with those? There's a challenge for you. Let me know in the comments down below, please. So what you want to do, any failed paintings or any test paintings which you don't really want to keep hold of, don't throw them away. Cut them up. I've got a little guillotine here which I tend to use. Chop them all up, then use the backs of those to test on. That's what I've been doing all the time. Look at that one. See? So I always take a scrap paper. So imagine these are what I'm doing here, really, effectively. I wouldn't do this on the main painting, of course not. So let's have a look at this blue jay. Now, yeah, it's quite a nice blue, that. So I can try. I've not tested these out first, by the way. I did with the Eastern Bluebird, because I've just done a complete tutorial on how to paint that one. That lovely photograph by Steve Rossi. This one, by the way, is from Pixabay. Can't remember who it's by, but it's just somebody that's provided that on Pixabay. A lovely colour. And a lovely looking bird. So that one's cerulean blue. Now, I can go with a little bit of, I don't know. You get to know this through experience, really, as you start looking at your colours. Let's go for a little bit of phthalo blue. Still no good, is it? But when you look at that blue on the Eastern Bluebird, it's not blue as such, is it? Not really blue, not like a bright, intense blue. It's more of a sort of purpley blue. So again, guess what I'm going to go for? A purple. Now, what kind of purple should I use for that one? I think, looking at these, we can try the mauve first of all and see what that gives us. Too much. Okay, a bit more of that again. It's over the top. Now that's not too bad. It's not too far off, is it? It's getting there. It's not right, but it's getting there. That's quite similar. Just that one side there. Let's move that out of the way a minute. We can try another purple. And I've got another one here which is ultramarine violet. This is what I do for all of my paintings before I start a painting project. And before I start one of my video lessons for my members on Patreon. I go through all the colours by looking carefully at that reference photograph. And all I simply do is pinch in to the photograph like that. It has to be a really good quality large photo. They can pinch into those pixels and really pick out the colours that are in there. Then you can go to your tester cards or your swatches that you've already made from your paint selection that you've got and see if you've got anything similar to that. If you've got one similar to that, for example the French ultramarine in this case, maybe, we'll find out in a minute, then you know that that's probably a good starter. And then you also can see that we've got that hint of purple I mentioned, so then you've got to think about a purple to go in there as well. And that's what I'm doing all the time. I keep looking closely, zooming in, zooming out, looking around the photograph and trying to work out what colours we can see, including the beak as well. But this is all about blue, so I'm trying to get that particular blue there. Let's just pull that one back a minute. So far, I would say that's getting better. It is, honestly, it's getting better. A little bit more of the ultramarine violet in there. And you know what? I think that's getting pretty close, isn't it? For the lightest shades, or one of the lighter shades anyway. The lightest shade, when you look into that, is more of a pinky purple, isn't it? Well, pinky blue, should I say, not pinky purple. And that's when you really zoom into those details and look beyond, really far beyond those kind of fine details you can see. All the background stuff. So that is quite similar. Not the same. So what I'll do, I'm going to try one more time with this one. French ultramarine. We'll go for that one there, look. Oh, I do like that colour, you know. I really do. French ultra. That one there. And also, now I did say about a purple. That's green ball. We'll go for the purple. Any, meeny, miny, mo. Which one shall I go for? I don't know. We'll try this one down the bottom, which is, what's that one there? Oh yeah, Purple Lake, if I remember rightly. Try that one. Oh, you know what? I think that is about it, you know. Look at that. Lighten it down to a fraction in one place, like that lot. Test it out, try and work out how it all goes. And that is looking very similar to the photograph down there, as you can see. Very, very similar. Well, to me anyway, with my particular camera, with my eyes at the moment, remember the colours might be slightly different with the way you're looking at it. That can also depend on your screen as well, by the way, on your monitor. Or your mobile phone, whichever method you're using. So looking at that, that's not far off, and I might need a little bit more of that colour in there. Just a touch of it, just a hint of it. Like that. I'm trying to keep it all on camera for you. Okay, and that is actually probably similar. Let's get my photograph in and I'll show you a lot. Very similar to, a bit difficult to show you on the screen there. The background colour, when you really zoom in to them details, look at that. Look how similar that is. So it's all about testing those colours and see what you can find with those colours. So I've already got the background colour. I've already got one which is very similar to the main feather colour as well. So it's all about adjusting it back and forth, back and forth. If I go with a little bit more of the French ultramarine in there, that's now quite similar again to the lightest part, or the richest part, not the lightest part. The richest part on the back of the head, wrong one, on the back of the head, which is that area there. So if I just push that over there, you can just about make it out on screen. There you go, look, now you can see it. So this area here, yeah, it's about on screen, was very similar to that one there. Probably not quite as blue. So what I can do, just for that one area there, I can add in just a touch more. I'll tell you what, let's go for a touch of phthalo blue. That's a very strong colour. Very strong. So thin it down, water it out. Then when you've done all this, you need to start making notes before you forget what you've used, okay? So it's very easy to forget. So that's why when I'm making my notes, as shown you earlier on, just hide that name on there so you can't tell what it is. I've got written down what species I've painted there. You can see I've made notes. That one didn't work, so I've crossed that one out. That one didn't work, so I've crossed that one out. That one's not quite the same. Maybe, so I ticked it. You know, so cross out the ones which don't work. And I've done that on this one here as well. Okay, so I've crossed that one out. So go through your colour mixes and think, okay, if you're testing on a scrap piece of paper like this, do make sure that anything that don't work, either cross out or don't write on them. Don't tick. So I've ticked that one, tick that one, tick that one. Otherwise you'd end up thinking, well, which ones did I use? So immediately, straight after you've mixed up the colour, you think you've got it right, write it down in pencil so you know you've got it, okay? Because believe me, I've got a very short memory and I do forget things extremely quickly. What's my name again? Oh yeah, Fred, that's right. Right, okay, let's have a look at the next one, shall we? And I'm thinking about the Nuthatch, if I can find my photograph in front of me. So bear with me. And I'll just bring that one up on the screen for you as well. So 1 second while I'm just messing around with the camera here. Now the Nuthatch, as we can see there, is a lovely bird, isn't it? And this is European Nuthatch, so very similar, in fact quite very similar to the one in the US and other countries as well. And it's a lovely bird because of the way the markings are as well, and the way it sort of perches off a tree. So you can see that on my reference photograph here. It's a scene photo. I've just zoomed into it on the screen there for you. Now I want to look at the beak on this, and we can see with the beak it's such of like a bright blue there, isn't it? A really bright blue. So how do we paint that beak? I know, but I'm going to have a look at the colours I've got on here first of all. Again, the bright blue, I tend to think about something like a phthalo blue, this one here. And the phthalo blue is extremely bright, so try that one first of all. Remember to write down everything that you do, so always write it down. I'm not doing it now because of time, you know. I don't need to know these. If I need to paint these pictures again, or paint these pictures for the first time, then I'll rework them out again. I quite enjoy the process really. So that's the phthalo blue, or ultramarine, or something like that. You can use ultramarine if you wanted to, but it won't be quite as bright as that. But try the ultramarine, or French ultramarine in my case. Nah, it's not nearly as bright as it really isn't. So phthalo blue at the moment seems to be the one to use. But is it the right colour? It's similar, isn't it? It's very similar, so you could use that. I do need to tone that down just a touch. And I'm thinking, well, what can I use for that? Maybe we can try a touch of Payne's Grey, which is this one here. A little bit of that in there. Too much. What about just down there? Too much. Blend it. Soften it together like that. Not too bad. So still, that's the best area there. What about a mixture of phthalo blue? Just there. A bit more. Here's my half pounds. Oh, that's probably too strong. And maybe cerulean blue. Or cerulean. Depends how you pronounce it. Now that's looking better. Probably too rich, but it's definitely looking better. If I lighten that on one side, just by dragging over a damp clean brush like that. Just quickly rinse it out in my double water pot, which I've got here. As you can see, dirty on one side and the clean on the other. So wash out on the dirty, give it a dry. Wash out on the clean, give it a dry. And then you can go back to your painting and you can do that. So that's what I've got. And I think that, for the Nuthatch, is probably looking about right. But when you look at the bottom part of the beak, it's really pale, isn't it? And if you use a completely different colour, the problem with that is that you'll find that it just won't gel together, it won't match. It'll look completely separate. So you still need to use that sort of colour in there, but extremely watered down. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go for the phthalo blue. Add it there. Just a line of it will do. Oh, I'm rhyming now. Phthalo blue, just a line of it will do. Just a touch more like that. And maybe just a touch of that cerulean blue again. So it's the same mix, but this time really watered down for the lower part of that beak. However, I can still see within there just a hint of pink. Believe it or not, I can. The more you look, the more you see. So for that, I can go for Opera Rose, Scarlet Lake, Alizarin Crimson, something like that. We'll go for the Alizarin Crimson. Just a hint of it, remember, not much. Like that. Then we've also got the darker area of the blue as well. So how do we make that up? What I'm going to do is we can go for opposite ends of the spectrum as well, opposite blue if you wanted to. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go for the Payne's Grey again, try that. You know, that's not too bad. Mix that in with a little bit of phthalo blue. Like so. And that'll do for the first wash for the lower part of that beak. So we've got the very light part on the left hand side. You can lighten it a bit more with a damp clean brush. Then you've got the richer part, the darker part on the right hand side. And you can darken that down even further by making up your own black with probably a burnt sienna and phthalo blue, or burnt sienna with French ultramarine or something like that, but still using the blue within that mix. So if I try that, look. Go for that one. Pop that in my mixing palette. And you'll need this mixture probably to be a creamy consistency. Like that. Is that creamy? Roughly. I tend to work on 3 different consistencies. So you got watery, hang on, take the fun away. Watery, milky, and creamy. Sometimes I might even put a 4th in there, thick. So you can go really thick if you want to. So watery is like tap water, you know, faucet water. So anything like that is fine. Milky, a little bit thicker than water. That's how I would normally say milky. It's a little bit thicker. And then creamy, a bit like toothpaste really. That's sort of creamy. So then I can go for something like a burnt sienna, which is this one here. Oh, went all posh then. This one here. There you go. And you can darken this down. That's still quite a dark blue, so I could use that. As you can see, I've already got a nice dark colour by making my own black. I can just use lamp black. But lamp black on its own is a bit flat, so you need to mix the blue with it to make it work. So that would work, something like that would work really well for the lower part of that beak. And that's still more the blue side, isn't it, within there? Just a hint of blue showing through, so it's slightly more biased to blue. And they can fade that along if you wanted to like that. Right, okay. Now, you know I've been going on about working with blue and painting that eastern bluebird. Whilst I just try and find my colour strips out for you, I'm going to show you a preview video, it's only short, so don't worry, of our latest Patreon painting, our latest Patreon tutorial, all done in watercolour of course, on how to paint an eastern bluebird. Well, hi, once again, welcome to one of my watercolour videos. Now today's tutorial for you is how to paint an eastern bluebird. Now once that drawing was on the paper, I started off by having a bit of a background, just the left hand side of the bird. And that's because when you look at the bird, it's quite white down here, isn't it? And because it's white, what I want to make sure of is how that white stands out. So just a hint of a background, that's all I wanted. Yes, you can put a background on there without the use of masking fluid, just like I did here on the left hand side. The key with painting this really is trying to keep the colours nice and pale, especially for the wings, as you can see with that lovely blue we've got there. But that's the main challenge with this painting, is trying to create that lovely blue feel to the feathers. So starting from the head, working all the way down the wing as well, and just a hint within the tail feathers. But the tricky part about that is that you don't want to go too dark, otherwise you completely deaden that blue. But make sure you don't use too much of that black, because if you do, you'll darken all the feathers down there, and we don't want to do that. After we've painted all the lovely chest colour down there, then we need to add some white paint over the top. But what you need to remember when you work with white paint, less is very often the best. If you're not sure if you've had enough on, put it to one side, go and make a cup of tea or something like that, cup of coffee, nothing too strong, okay? And then come back to the painting with fresh eyes, then decide. And I'll show you all of that throughout the video, so don't worry about that. So that's what we're painting this time around, a lovely eastern bluebird. So I think it's about time we got the brushes wet, don't you? Let's get started. Hello again, once again. Now, these are the ones I've been looking for, look. My colour tester strips. And all these are, just out of interest here, look. Well, that's our next bird, by the way. Do you know what that one is? Just give you a minute to work that one out, okay? If you don't know. Let me know in the comments, please do, before I get there, before I tell you. All these are my palettes here, just all the colours, all the half pans I've got within my mixing palettes. all my Harpans there. So what I've actually done, I've graded them. So I've put them a little bit thick at the end and then washed them out as I come all the way along the side. At least then I can join these and look at these for my reference photograph. So let's take, for example, with this one here. Do you know what it is yet? I'll tell you in a minute. I'll tell you. Oh, well, I'll tell you. I know. You can look at your blues. How blue can it go? And then work out if you can do this in one hand. Look. There you go. Oh, I lost that one. Hang on. There you go. Look at your blues and then think, well, what blue have I got which is similar to that? Don't just look at the tips of these cards that I've made. I do have a video on this on how to make them, by the way. So I'll pop a link to the top right hand corner later on. Once the video is all rendered on here on YouTube and they've finally sorted it out, just take a little while for them to do that, usually about a day after I've gone live. Now looking at that, the colours are quite, if I just zoom into that a minute, I can't do all this with one hand. The colours are quite bright, aren't they? So, you know, when you look at all those down there, you think, well, for the indigo bunting, I'm looking at possibly, might be the phthalo blue again, you know, looking at it. Maybe even a touch of French ultramarine in there as well. So we're looking potentially, we can get these out for you, those two there, okay. And all you need to do with this, just take that off a minute, is try and do this one hand, so bear with. You can look at the variation within the colour there. It's all variegated on the paper, and work out what part of that is most similar. And I reckon with this, probably, just show you in a minute, probably about halfway along the more kind of intense colour there is what we're looking for that. I can see that within the picture down there as well. But also maybe, as I did say, a little bit of the French ultramarine as well. So we could try that one. But it's not quite that colour, is it? No, not really. We'll need to change that colour a little bit. So let's have a quick play. When we're looking at the colours, I'm thinking, as I said, maybe the phthalo blue. We'll try that one first of all. I do like phthalo blue. I tried to stick with all the colours I've got here for my video lessons because if I change them, it's not fair on my members. And it's also not fair on me. So I forget what colours I've got. And I think, oh, what was that one? So that one will do to begin with, but it's quite dark on the front of the head down there, isn't it? Just above that beak. So how do we make it darker without going too dark, if you know what I mean? So that's the trick. That's the kind of key with that, really. So what you need to do, I'm just going to go through my photographs in a minute to make sure I've got the right one for you a minute. Yeah, that's the right one you got on the screen. Something like yellow or something like that, I would say. So I'm just going to bring my picture back up, so bear with. So we can go for... Yeah, let's go for the yellow first of all. We'll try that one. And that's going to make us more of a sort of dull green colour, isn't it? So that's a bit too much. So phthalo blue again. Mix that in. Ah, now that's better. Or near on anyway. And that really helps to darken. This is a lemon yellow, by the way. Not straight away, but it helps to darken the colour. Bit more phthalo blue, like that. Got it? So that one is already getting similar to that photograph down there. A little bit more phthalo blue, and keep adjusting it until you got it about right. And then move it around like that. So that is nearly there. You can try a little bit of French ultramarine in there as well. So all these colours mixed together to get, that's it, that's the colour, isn't it? That's the colour just about at the front of that beak, just above that beak there. And that kind of blends out and gets lighter as it works its way over the top of the head. So if I just put a little bit of dirty water on that side there and bring that into it, that's now, with all this messing around, the lighter colour that we can see. From that darker shade, which I've now wetted down too much, to the lighter one on the other side. So it's all about testing and playing with the paints and trying back and forth all the time, using, as I said, those tester sheets you've already got like these here, lot. Any scrap pieces of watercolour paper you've got at hand. It doesn't have to be cold pressed or hot pressed or whatever it is, even rough. Just something you can try your ideas out on. That's all you need. I've even got plenty of scrap pieces of paper here, which I tend to save. And they can also be cut up as well if need be. So that's working out what that is. But what about the chest on there? We know that's going to be very similar to that. Because it is, isn't it? And this is all going to be the same colour, but using different sort of shades of that colour. So you'd thicken that colour down to get to this colour here, just by using more pigment and less water. And that's all I tend to do while I'm working around the painting. So it's all about pre-planning and preparing before you start on a painting. That's what it's about. Trying to get those colours right. And that applies to any colours you use, including blue. And blue can be a little bit notorious sometimes, for me anyway, of getting just about the right blue. So the right sort of shade of blue. But look how many different shades we've made there just by playing with these 4 different colours. And additional colours with it as well, of course. But you'll show what you can do with that. Now, that's the indigo bunting. And I think for me, what time is it? Yeah, we can try one more if you want to. We'll try, I'll just bring it up on the screen there for you, bear with me a minute. Well, I now play with the computer once again with blurry vision. I've got the wrong glasses on for that, so bear with. We're going to try the blue jay wing. You ready? Here we go. Which is that one there. That is a stunning wing, isn't it, on the blue jay? That lovely bright blue. But it's not just bright blue, is it? As you can see down there. It's also, what's my photo a minute? It's also this blue here. Look at that. That's a rich blue, isn't it? We've got the bright blue and we've got the rich blue. So how do we get this sort of blue for mixture? Well, again, I can use my little colour tester cards like that. Go for the blues I've got, which is not many. So I've only got the 5, sorry, can't count, look. I did go to school many years ago, too many years ago. So I've got 5 different blues there. The indigo is far too dark, isn't it, for that? We know that the French ultramarine is going to be quite close to that one as well. And also we know that the phthalo blue will be a nice one for the really bright tones on there. Because even the phthalo blue, when you look at the back wings, so it's really the lightest area, and I've got the photograph there, but this area here, lot, you really want something, maybe, I'm going to put all these 2 forward a minute, these 3. So I'm going to show you on the tablet I've got here. The cerulean blue is too dull. I think for that, you're probably looking at, if I can get them apart again, trying to do this with one hand is very tricky, honestly. You're probably looking at the phthalo blue mixed with French ultramarine. And if you're not sure what to mix that blue with, just try different variations as you go along. That's all I do. So we'll try that anyway. We'll try the phthalo blue, which is that one there. Or fallow, I know. It's like a fallow deer, isn't it? With French ultramarine. I'm losing the plot today, do apologise. And that, you know, it's not far off, you know. It's not right, but it's not far off. When you look at the wings, the real top part, and I'll bring this in for you again, all this area here, probably even here to a certain degree, you get a little bit of purple in there as well to make that blue a slightly different colour. You can see that in the photograph as well, can't you? So I'm going to go for a ickle bit, not a little bit, but an ickle bit of, I'm losing the plot, I'm going to go for an ickle bit of ultramarine violet. I will pop that one in there as well. And that is getting better. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And just soften that down the bottom. Bring it across. It's too purple now, I know. So I need to go back into my phthalo blue. Just a touch. It's a very strong colour. It will overpower what's underneath it very quickly. And that's for those really, really dark areas you can see down there within the blue. But it's still too dark, isn't it? So I can lighten that down by using a damp, clean brush, all by testing. Again, write it down what you're doing. When you know you've got the right colour, you think, I've got it. Write it down in pencil before you forget. I've done it so many times. I've made the right colour. It's taken me ages to get the right colour sometimes. Off camera, of course. Not within my video lessons. And I forget to write it down. Then I completely forget what it was. I had to retry to mix it again. So, oh no. Now, when you look at the back of this bird, that's not far off actually. That's pretty close indeed for the wings, for the feathers on the wing. When you look at the back of the bird, which is a completely different blue again. Look at that one. Really sort of purpley blue, isn't it? You know what we're going to do with that one. Now you've seen what I do. We know we're going to go for something like a phthalo blue, a nice bright blue. Something like that. Let's get a bit of water. Be generous with the paintball. Don't be a Scrooge with that paint. I'm terrible for it, I know. Phthalo blue, and probably even a little bit. I'm going to go for ultramarine violet again. I think that's probably the right colour for this, you know. Just by looking at your colours and looking at your tester cards, looking at all these cards on here, I'm thinking, yeah, would it be this one here? That's the ultramarine violet one, that one, that. Look at that lovely colour. And that's what I'm using for this. I'm using a little bit of that in there. That's not enough. Let's go for a bit more. A bit more. That one there. What do you think? It's getting there, isn't it? We're still too blue. True blue, baby. Anyway, I've got a little bit. Is that too much now? You're going to tell me it is, isn't it? But is it? We shall see. The more work it, the more spread it out like that, the more you start to see the colour. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, hey, there you go, you see. That is very similar to the back of that bird down there. Very similar. So what I'm showing you today, you can apply all these techniques, or the way I tend to do it, by using your colour swatches like this. You can use your colour cards, colour strips if you wish. The main swatches you've got for your half pans that you've got there, like I've got here. Always test them out, always make sure you got this done. I covered that with sellotape as well, so it will last me a long time. And write down on there what the colour is, obviously, whether it's staining, whether it's you know, like a semi-transparent or semi-opaque or opaque or transparent. You can find all this information from your manufacturer's website that you got for your paints online. So it's well worth looking on there and doing something like this. Just give you some ideas on what I do. So until next time around, get them brushes wet, okay? Bye for now.